Hey everyone, I'm really happy about today's video because I get to talk, I think, a lot about kind of my process and what I've been doing. And I think you'll see in the next almost half hour, everything is sped up. So in real time, this was, like an hour and a half, I guess, of sitting down and painting. You'll see, I don't even want to say the word struggling, but I tried a lot of things, and I think only when I got to the end, things started to work. And when I mean work, I mean that I actually was making something that I really liked. So the first thing I want to do is, because I've been kind of reading and learning from people who really emphasize the importance of mixing colors. And I mean, I've been doing that in watercolors, and I have come to a place where I usually start my paintings with kind of a limited palette, and then I add more in later stages. But with acrylics, I'm still kind of trying to find my colors and exploring different brands and finishes, kind of going through the same process as I did with watercolors. Only this time I am really making, an effort to paint as much as I shop, hopefully more. And that's working well for me. So I really wanted to kind of try and take the time and do the work as other people recommend and see what I can come up with, or how I feel, let's say, about all these colors. So I already made a different color wheel. Maybe I'll flip back to it at some point of the video with some different colors, but this is kind of as, I guess, close as I get, or these would be my primary colors. So let's talk about what I'm using. The hot pink one that is on the 8 o'clock on my color wheel is my current obsession, Holbein, shocker, luminous rose. And the yellow is Sahara yellow from Flash Paints. And then the blue is ultramarine blue, again from Flash Paints. The Flash Paints have a really nice magenta, but you know how I like my pinks super bright, but still kind of like deep. And so the luminous rose is really kind of my go-to pink these days. And what I'm trying to do is, create a color wheel, mix all of the colors, and then also add some white. And I have to say, and later I started painting, and I really realized that I need a lot of white to get to the values that I like, the colors that I like. I need a lot of white, or of course, bring in more colors. But if I am trying to work with a limited palette, then I need a ton of white. So let's talk a little bit about this color wheel. My yellow is quite orangey, and you can see how vibrant all my oranges and reds are. And I have to say, because on the previous page, I'll tell you in a minute what I'm working in. I guess you can kind of see that it's a planner. So in my previous color wheel, these colors, I used actually a ochre color as my yellow. I used the same pink and an ochre color. I think I probably filmed that too. I'll try to look for it. But all of my oranges and reds were more muted because of that earthy ochre color. And, looking at the two of them kind of next to each other, I really see how much I prefer these. So I do like that ochre color, but I don't think it's something I would use as like one of my primary colors or one of my base colors to mix all these oranges and reds. Now, as for the blue, so you can see I'm using ultramarine blue. It's very, very like a warm blue. You know, it has red in it or magenta in it. And I do like some of the like violet colors that I get. Probably the one that is very close to my rose color. I like that one. But, and then I also like the earthy greens that I get when I mix it with my orangey yellow. So because both my yellow and my blue have magenta in them, my greens are not super vibrant and super saturated. They're more earthy, which I like. And so that part of the wheel also works for me. What I am missing, and so I really think I need to add that to my palette, is those minty colors. And in my other color wheel, I had kind of like this dark teal, greenish tealish color as my blue, and it really gave me gorgeous minty colors. So it's definitely something I want to include in my palettes. So let's talk about a little bit what I'm working in. So this one is a notebook, and I think these are kind of well known. Okay, so I have it near me, and it's called the Stalogy, Staloggy notebook. I have the B5 size, and the reason I got this probably a couple of years ago is because it has that Tomoe River paper. Now, if you're not familiar, this is the paper. It's famous because I think they changed it now, but it used to be for like eternity the paper in the famous Japanese planners that the name escapes me now. Wow, this is kind of scary that I can't think of this. Hobonichi, thank you. Starting to worry about my cognitive function here. So this paper is, this is like the Japanese, everything they do is like high quality, and their stationery is amazing. And this paper is super thin, but it doesn't, like, you can use watercolor on it, and it does crinkle, which a lot of people really love, including myself, but it will not sip through it. So it's great for, if you're using inks or writing with like a fountain pen, that paper is really great. But I am now just obsessed with using these notebooks, or actually my old Hobonichi planner that I have. I'm just using these as sketchbooks, and they're so much fun. The paper is so thin that I really feel I can just, just like enjoy myself in the sketchbook without feeling precious that I'm going to run out of pages. I don't know how chunky it'll be when I paint everything, but I'm quite curious to find out. So you see this one, I'm using it. I don't know if I'll continue to use it like this, but I made a couple of pages, like a few pages with these little frames so I can sketch there. And I've been really trying to find, I guess, what kind of values I'm most drawn to. And mostly I find I go too dark. I like kind of the yellow painting sketch. It's just obviously super rough, just to kind of try to figure out which colors I'm into and how much of them I want. So I like the top left pink painting. I have been kind of wanting to do a pink painting, and and then the one on the right on the top is just two, like one color and two mid-value nothing. It's not like dark and exciting, and it's not light and kind of airy. It's just somewhere in the middle, and it's not good. And then the blue, I think I'm just not feeling that entire blue situation. So that's what I'm doing. And now I decided, okay, enough to work in these tiny ones. Let's work on other surfaces. So I started, as you can see, with this. This is like canvas paper that I have, and it was just like not fun. The white that I'm using is gesso. I was actually 100% certain that my local store had the flash colors, and I was going to buy a large white one. But they didn't. I don't know if they stopped carrying them or if I imagined the whole thing. I know the shop in Vienna carries them, but sadly not the one next to me. And so I decided to just get some gesso, and I like the tooth, and I like the fact that it is matte, because I'm just like really loving that look. So trying to use a lot more white to get kind of those really light colors that I'm enjoying. And now I have to tell you, at this stage, I wasn't really feeling anything. I was happy about the color wheel, even though, as I said, like I really need to bring into my palette a teal color. Which I have a really good one. It's very dark, so everything I kind of have to mix, but I am trying to, see if that works for me. I did like the whole, the mixing thing. I liked seeing how much variety I got from using, only 3 colors. You'll see that there I go, adding some opera pink. But it's actually like a few of the people that I've been watching, even if they decide, okay, this is going to be, I don't know, a pink painting, or it's going to have like a focal point that it's pink or something like this. They also tend to use more than one shade of pink. So again, I feel like I've gone beyond the place where, I have to follow everything that someone says, because I think doing anything different is wrong. But I'm just trying to see what works for me. And so I was playing around, nothing was really working. And then I decided, okay, I don't want to work on something that I've already started. I want to start something new. I have all these like wooden boards. Let's just go for it. So here I'm just looking for some color inspiration, and I am going to add these little cuties to my shop. I've shared before that I am kind of insecure with marketing myself or selling my artwork, but if I don't put it out there, I mean, nobody's ever going to know that I made it. So I have to get over myself. And, every time I see like an established artist in their studio, they're always surrounded by like tons and tons of their artwork. So obviously, even successful artists don't sell every single piece that they make, and they just make a lot and then they sell some of it. And then usually, like the ones that I've seen, still have, many pieces in their studios. So I'm working on that, working on having my collection, having a larger number, let's say, of paintings. Okay, so here I decided, okay, let's start fresh. Let's start on these wooden cradled wood boards, whatever they're called, and see what happens. And I'm trying to figure out, how I like to start, which tools I like to use. And here I'm just using this little flat brush. I don't know, it kind of turned into a mess. So I'm not actually sure that I don't like applying the paint with the brush. And I did enjoy kind of, tweaking the colors a little bit, playing around. But I think it was that placing these like dark colors kind of all over the place that didn't really work for me. I don't know. It's something about the composition wasn't really working for me. And you'll understand more when you see what was working for me. So I'm just playing around. I did, as I said, like I found it very enjoyable to just focus on working on these colors. Maybe not stop and bring in new colors all the time, but rather try and kind of mix the colors. And again, kind of learning to use a lot more white than I'm used to. I think the reason I'm used to not using so much white is because I tend to have kind of lighter colors. I tend to use more colors. But here I was really using those intense saturated primary colors. So if you want to get like a variety of values, you need to add more. As the paint itself, I'm just loving it. The flash paints, I think everyone knows that they're like this vinyl paint. I don't know what that actually means. I think they say it's like this film of paint that adheres to everything, but the finish is matte, which I'm obsessed with. And the biggest best surprise about the Holbein heavy body paint, you can see one just on the side of the screen, is that they are completely matte. And it doesn't say that anywhere. And I absolutely love that. Now, the annoying thing is I don't have in a shop near me Holbein. I have to order them from abroad, like from Germany. But yeah, it's still something like doable. It would be nice to find some go-to paints. And I think the only really kind of nice matte paint that I have in my local art store is the Lascaux one from Switzerland, and it is really nice, but it's kind of expensive, and the color range is just okay for me. I mean, it has, kind of like that basic artist colors. There's no like hot pinks. There's no, I don't know. It's just kind of boring. But it will be like, I can find a nice yellow there. I can find that kind of teal color I found from their range. It's called Emerald Deep, I want to say. And it's really, really good. So that's kind of as local to me as I can find. And we'll see how it goes, because I do like working in layers, and I'm also kind of obsessed with a few of my pencils. This is one of them. This is the drawing series from Derwent. Don't ask me about all the differences between their different lines, because they just have too many pencil lines. I don't understand why they need all of them. I wish they just like focused on one. The formula, it feels to me, is quite similar in their color soft, light fast, and drawing pencils. So I really wish they just, made one line and not confuse me with all of their different options. But this black pencil is fantastic. It is kind of soft, so I have to sharpen it quite often, but it is so intense, and I love a good intense black pencil. This one also is water resistant, which I also prefer these days, I think. And it's just a joy to sketch with it. And then a few of the other Derwent pencils that I have, I've been kind of trying to make a conscious effort to use them so that I can get to know them better, because I bought a few recently and I just want to see how they behave and how I like them. And I love them. Not all the colors, it's color dependent, but the formula is really, really nice. So moving on to this wedge tool, which turned out to be kind of where I wanted to go. So my problem with all these, with the little brush, it just gets a bit too hectic. Like I don't like, probably I could have switched also to just like a bigger flat brush. But what's nice about these wedge tools is that, the color doesn't seep through it. So I prefer to work with them, and I don't have to wash them all the time, and then I don't get so much water to, pour down the drain. Okay, so I think this is kind of where things started to work for me. And I think this kind of application of color in larger areas, really playing with subtle hues and shades of, my yellow, my pink, my blues. I added also, I think I already had added here, some indigo. I'm using Lucas Indigo. The annoying thing about it, the color itself is gorgeous. The annoying thing is that it's not matte. And yeah, so here I'm replenishing my luminous rose. Once I realized that color was as gorgeous as I suspected it would be because of my watercolor Holbein bright rose obsession, I immediately went to Pettel's art shop in Berlin, which is where I ordered my Holbein paints from, and I bought the remaining 2 luminous rose that they had in stock. So if you're in Europe and you're trying to order this color and it's out of stock at Pettel's Art, I do apologize. It's my fault. But if you're in the US, then you can probably find it. It's just such a glorious color. So this one is actually this, you can see it's like a more bluish pink. This color is from Amsterdam, from Royal Talents. And I saw, I think on Instagram, an artist that also abstract. I really, really like his style. And he used, I don't know if it was this color, but I suspect it was, according to some of the pictures in his Instagram and the packaging. I think it was this color. And I just loved it in his photos. So I think maybe either I need to try and use this color maybe a bit more heavily than I have till now, because I wasn't obsessed with it when I was working with it. Or what could be also that, he enhances his Instagram pictures to just make it look a little bit crisper, a little bit brighter, a little bit more saturated. And maybe that's why I really love that color. So I'm not sure, but I knew I had it somewhere in my stash, so I decided to look for it and try and use it. And I do like how it looks next to my luminous rose, which is funny because suddenly that luminous rose looks quite warm, quite more reddish next to that purpley color. If you want to know the exact color, then leave me a comment and I'll look it up. But right now I don't have it near me. And so this is, looking at the screen, I'm kind of loving that pink, and I'm really loving that base of indigo. And I know that I was loving working on those wood boards and working with this applicator. I'm not liking that orange. That orange is not working for me. So I have to go back and see if I need to cover it up or something. But this was definitely a bit going in the right direction, I feel, because of these larger areas of color. So that spreading around the dark colors just wasn't working for me. At least it wasn't working for me today. And these more blocks of color, and then kind of trying to work on the edges, because right now I'm looking on the screen and I'm thinking that edge of the indigo where it meets the other parts of the painting, that needs work. It's just too distracting and not in a good way. So I need maybe to add a few, a little bit more something there, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But all in all, I think this is where I started to really enjoy myself and really see or kind of find what was working for me, what I was really enjoying, and the process and the result. So I think the lesson here is to just, show up and paint, and just paint and paint until things work. I mean, obviously, sometimes you just kind of need a break and step away, but there's something to be said about continuing to try and trying like different approaches. And today, at least in this session, this proved helpful for me. And this is like, with this painting, things started to feel a little bit more right, let's say. Whereas the other, like the previous ones, it was just like a bit too chaotic. And yeah, so I think what I want to do next is add some pencil marks. So I have to wait for everything to dry. In some places, I did kind of apply thicker layers of color. I do love that texture in certain areas. So it's something that I have to, like, I want to add kind of a more intentionally, adding thicker wedge strokes. It's not really a brush. But all in all, I really, really enjoyed this. And I'm, I bought on Friday, I bought 2 80 by 80 canvases. I think maybe I mentioned it in a different video, but I'm really looking forward to painting on them. I kind of want to hold off until December, not just because I don't have like a gazillion large canvases. I want to have a better idea of what I want to do. And so I think I want to paint as much as I can on smaller surfaces in my sketchbook, in these, like on these small wood boards, and kind of find direction. But again, it's just been such a joy playing with these colors. Oh, and you can see that teal color that I was mentioning. You can see it in my palette, just above all that blue. That's the color. And I guess it's like a phthalo turquoise, I would say, kind of that color. And I hope I really need to show you that color wheel, because the mint colors were really, really pretty. The greens were also good. Actually, I think also the purples were pretty. They were just like a little bit more muted. But yeah, still, it was a good color to include in my palette, I feel. I feel like it gives me really, really nice options. So what did I want to say? Oh, the palette. Yeah, so the palette is like this butcher tray. I've had it for years and years. And mostly I had in it the watercolors from the Jean Haynes set. Actually really loved using it for watercolors. I don't know why it never took on as kind of like my main palette. It's a lot of fun to use with watercolors because you have like so much space. But since it's just been, laying around, like I just remember like all the time moving it from one place to the other, all the time when I'm organizing things, it's kind of going through it, and I don't want to throw it because I do like it, but I also don't know what to do with it. So I decided to try and use it for mixing paint, because that wooden board is like double the size, and this one is still like big enough but not crazy big, and it's easier to move around. It's not as heavy as that wood board. So that's what I'm using now as my palette. I think it's working well for me. It's not, super expensive, and hopefully I can peel the paint if it gets too thick. And yeah, and I'm liking what's going on. So exciting times. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye.